Hey y'all, I'm back with another Cephalid Breakfast Legacy League. This list that you see is what I'm going to be running, and it's very similar to stuff that you've seen from me in the past. The big noteworthy difference is Carpet of Flowers as a sideboard card. I'm hoping that playing against different Dimir decks, especially, that Carpet of Flowers can be the thing that powers out combo pieces early and develops a strong game plan before they can really set up, or I can otherwise be keeping up with a strong start from, say, a Tamiyo or basically anything that they have going on. Other than that, it should look pretty familiar. In order to make room for the carpets, I'm definitely down Prismatic Ending, Force of Negation, Swords. Those are all cards that I could see running more of instead of that. So it's a pretty familiar list. Hopefully I'll get to do lots of comboing off with Cephalid Illusionist and Nomads, en-Kor or Shuko. Otherwise, I can use Nadu to draw a bunch of cards and bury people in card advantage, or just play a value Tamiyo game. I really love the multi-dimensional threat of this list in particular, and hopefully that'll be on full display in this league. On the draw in round one, I like this hand. I will keep. Turn one, Thoughtseize from the opponent. They're probably going to take my Brainstorm. Alright, the opponent took Shuko, so that makes me think they maybe have removal for Nomads. And maybe it's not Dimir Reanimator, because if it was, I think they would take the Brainstorm, especially if they were ready to combo off. Drawing the fetch land is nice. It does give them perfect information, but it protects me from Wasteland, and it'll be great to combo with that Brainstorm. Hopefully I won't have to fire off an emergency Brainstorm this turn. Then playing out the fetch land would be a weaker play. However, the fact that they took Shuko makes me think that I perhaps have some time to get set up. Alright, my opponent did not shuffle their Ponder and a Wasteland. Alright. Well, now I feel good playing this fetch land out. Maybe I can draw another fetch land or basic land this turn. There's another basic land that I can get. So I'm going to get a basic island, cast Brainstorm, hopefully find like another Nomads or a Shuko, because the fact that they let me keep Nomads does make me think they probably have like a Fatal Push or something like that. Maybe a Bowmaster. Well, that wasn't very good. I'm going to put back Thassa's Oracle, put back Savannah, and say go. Sadly, I can't surveil off of this Heath because of the Wasteland. But double Plow against what I'm assuming now is Dimir Tempo feels pretty decent. Double Wasteland's a little scary. And I'm getting Thoughtseized again. So I bet they take the Nomads now. Yep. This doesn't feel too bad though. If I'm not losing, I'll go ahead and get my planes and get a fresh draw after that shuffle. Urza Saga, okay. Well, Urza Saga looks bad in the face of double Wasteland, but now I can comfortably surveil, play the Tundra. Once they've Wastelanded me a bit, I can go Saga. I can even, if they let me have the Tundra, play out the Cavern if that feels more sacrificial than the Saga, or I can play the Saga out to protect the Cavern. So provided that I don't die super quickly here to something, this feels okay. Tamiyo, okay. Well, I'm certainly going to plow this Tamiyo. I don't want to let them start getting advantage with it. So hopefully this resolves. If it doesn't, I have another. And I'm going to get Hedge Maze. I do want to tempt them to start wastelanding me so that I can get one of these better lands out. Opponent fires off the first wasteland. I draw another plow. Yeah, I'll take another plow. Now, I'm really hoping they wasteland the Tundra. They may not. Sometimes opponents against Breakfast will save a wasteland for a Saga or Cavern. The Tundra certainly is not very tempting to wasteland because I already have blue and white, but they may just want to keep me off mana overall. Another Thoughtseize. Well, you can't take me off swords, and you can't take me off anything else, but them now having the information that I have a Saga is really good for them. Yeah, the opponent has a follow-up play. Cameo, okay. Well, is this Cameo bait? I'm going to go to my draw step before firing off this swords. Alright, the opponent did not wasteland me. Well, let's kill Tamio. Lay out a cavern. I'll name Wizard. And I'll have to see if that's tempting enough for them. Drawing the second cavern really isn't too good, but it is what it is. No play from the opponent, so I still think they have one of those removal spells. That's why they let me keep Nomads en-Kor back on turn 1. And they could have a force or something like that. Another land is not very good, but it's at least a surveil, and if they're not going to wasteland my cavern, I can at least uncounterably cast something. They might have a Kaito that's stuck in their hand. They could have a force or a daze that they haven't felt compelled to fire off. Brainstorm, okay. So if they can get another blue, they certainly can Murktide. And I think I've already been through all of my plows. So that would be pretty good. I've really flooded very hard this game, and yet still this wasteland is completely bricking me because I can't even play Saga. Sewers, okay. Hopefully they don't put a monster into the bin. Kept a card. Alright, well they really like all the cards off that brainstorm. Get a Meticulous Archive. Illusionist. I suppose I'll keep Illusionist. I'll play the Saga. They're likely to wasteland it, but let's just get it over with. Well, they didn't wasteland. They don't really have to wasteland. It's not like that mana was going to be important for me with all these lands. Yeah, now they fire it off, so I guess it would have been more correct for them to fire it off before it got Chapter 1, but it wasn't really relevant, and I think they knew that. Paraguay, pretty good. Well, if I draw Nomads, I can uncounterably cast both of those, and then I won't have green for Memory's Journey if they do have a force, but Narcomoeba, not good. Oh my god, this game has had some really rough draws. I'll play out Narcomoeba. And it will chump the Barrogoyf. Now, I would like to think this game is on the worse end of games against Dimir Tempo. I got Thoughtseized 3 times in the first turns of the game, and you can see they have 41 cards left in their deck, so it's still pretty statistically unlikely for them to see 3 Thoughtseizes. Nadu, okay. Well, I'll cast Nadu. And I think I'll play out the other cavern and cast Illusionist. If they don't answer one of these, then I can start to fog the Barrogoyf. If they Fatal Push Nadu right now, I at least get a card. Yeah, another Nadu, okay. So I have to let the Goyf hit me. But starting next turn, I can fog it using Illusionist, so maybe I can start pulling back ahead, provided they don't get another really big threat. Bitter Triumph, sure. Hey, I hit a Narcomoeba. Well, the slightest bit of luck, I'll probably chump with the Narcomoeba, sadly. And I milled over another Nadu. But right now, we're starting to get into top deck mode. They have the Barrogoyf, so they are definitively ahead. But if I can get a Nomads or something like that going, that would feel good. Kaito, okay. Are they going to tap down my Narcomoeba? Nope. Well, Nomads off the top would pretty much win me the game. And now Narcomoeba is not only keeping them off of the Barrogoyf trigger, but it's keeping them from surveilling and drawing with Kaito, so this feels pretty decent. Alright, the opponent pluses the Kaito. All right, come on, Nomads. Days. Days is a terrible top deck, but at least I can get Nadu online. And I won't be able to block, so the Baragorf will hit, the Kaito will hit. Maybe Days will actually catch something. I certainly, if I were them at this phase of the game, would not be playing around Days being the one card in the opponent's hand. So that's providing a glimmer of hope. But this doesn't look good. I need to find Nomads pretty much immediately, and the Nadu has to survive. Both of those things might be asking a good bit. All right, I'm taking 10, and I will take 10. That means I'm definitely dead next turn because they can minus the Kaito. But obviously I can't just block one of these with Nadu and Chum. It looks like they did not hit anything off of Baragorf, so that's a relief. They do get to surveil though. Oh, they did hit a Nethergoyf, but they didn't take the Nethergoyf. Nethergoyf doesn't really seem like it matters on this board state. Okay, my opponent is passing the turn. They nearly tapped 3 lands there. I don't know what that means. Oh, alright, well, I'm dead anyway, so. On to the next. Flooded super hard that game. Alright, against Dimir Tempo, I actually really don't like having the breakfast combo in. So that's, with Memory's Journey, 9 cuts. The endings, Tamiyo, Blusterstorm, Carpets, and all of these artifacts are a nice package to bring in as a substitute. The reason I don't like the breakfast combo against Dimir Tempo is, number one, they have really good access to graveyard hate via anything from Dauthi Voidwalker to Nile Spellbomb. And then in addition to that, they have a lot of cards that simply remove Illusionists, like Fatal Push, Orcish Bowmasters. It just feels like a really tough situation to combo off with the 1/1. So I don't mind playing a longer game, having some good value cards like Tamiyo, good removal. I like having all the counter spells to back up the Nadu when it's time. So this will be my plan. On the play for game 2, that's not a very exciting hand at all, but I will keep their Thoughtseize deck, so I don't like to mull hands that are functional. I'll probably play the Carpet turn 1 and just hope to let that propel me into a really good situation. This really encourages them to slow down too. Like, they might not want to play out an island in order to slow me down. They might like to just wasteland me here, which obviously won't work with all the lands that I have. This needle can likely name something other than wasteland, which will feel good. It could name Tamiyo or Kaito. And this ending will likely get something. So this is a pretty predictable play. They might feel like they're really keeping me off of my game plan, but right now they're not, so that feels decent. And eventually they will have to play into my Carpet. So doesn't really matter which fetch land to get. I'll just play Flooded Strand, as that can get either basic if that feels important, or most likely it's just going to surveil. Drawing Nadu was great there. All right, my opponent has a basic swamp, so they're really trying to keep me off the Carpet. Thoughtseize is very predictable. They're going to take Nadu, no doubt. And because I don't really have anything grand to do next turn, I'm not even going to crack the Flooded Strand to surveil. I'll just play another fetch land and say go, most likely. But now the opponent can't keep me off the Carpet any longer. Like, they probably don't have more than the one basic swamp, and obviously we'll need blue to execute their game plan. Tundra, not ideal. I'll play Misty and say go. Spellbomb from the opponent. So you can see if I was trying to combo off, this would be about the worst card I could see. So thankfully, it's not totally dead card because they can draw a card off of it, but it's just not that good for them. I'll give Meticulous Archive. Brainstorm is really good. And I'll use the Carpet mana to cast Brainstorm. Swords, Saga. Okay, well, I feel like I have enough lands. I'm gonna put back both of these. Play yours as Saga and say go. And the Flooded Strand will probably get Hedge Maze. It might have been correct to Needle Wasteland there, but I like to preserve this Needle a little longer if I can. I just feel like if you have a Carpet out, having Carpet and Needle on Wasteland is just too redundant. Unlicensed first, so yet another piece of graveyard hate that boarding out the combo is negating. Obviously, the Hearse could become something they beat down with later, but making constructs against this board feels really nice. Windswept Heath, I just shuffled that away, so I do not want it. All right, another land. Not really what I wanted to see. So I think I now will cast the Needle. And I will probably Needle Wasteland to ensure that the Saga gets to pop. They might feel compelled to fire off this Nile Spellbomb now without drawing a card. Well, they didn't do that. So I will still name Wasteland. And I know I said that play didn't feel great a turn ago, but now I have lands that mean more than just mana. And so I want to make sure those stick around. So I will get to make a construct. The Needle in play also means that a single Orcish Bowmaster cannot kill the token. And I like that play as well. Now, in the face of all of this graveyard hate, there's no point in trying to get a Ghost Vacuum, even though that's a really nice combo with Carpet. Disruptor Flute. Okay. I won't crack the Flooded Strand. If they want to Needle Flooded Strand, they can go ahead. It's likely that they might die to something like Constructs in the face of all of these things here. Alright, well, now that they've Needled Shuko, I will get Ghost Vacuum. That can at least help to keep them off of a Murktide. I can also Ending any of that stuff that I'd like at some point. I'll hold the Cavern and try to start eating away at their life total. Alright, now in this situation, it's important to note that they now have 7 mana for Murktide with 4 cards in their graveyard and 3 cards, or 3 lands, including blue. So I will go ahead and eat this Thoughtseize right now. Murktide is about the worst thing they could do. I do have Plows, so I have answers for it, but if I can keep it off the board and not have them gain life, that'd be great. They're now actually using their Hearse to clear more cards, which I don't think they should be doing. There's nothing that Ghost Vacuum was going to do with that Thoughtseize, so if they do have Murktide, they just made themselves farther away. Push is fine. I don't have any Surveils left, so I'm not going to crack the Flooded Strand. I think my best draw is either a Nadu or another Urza Saga. Plains. Probably one of the worst draws. I'll play... No, I won't even play it out. Because let's say they Bowmaster in combat. I have 2 white mana to blow out like a Swords getting forced or something like that. Here we go. So I will let them go to block. They'll block both. I'll Swords the Bowmaster. Maybe they force. They didn't force. Too bad. Still, I would like to push damage. I don't know if this 3/3 is really going to get there. And I didn't like having to spend a Swords on something as small as a Bowmaster. I really would like to use it for, say, a Barrowgoyf or a Murktide Regent. If off this Ponder they have a Underground Sea and play that out directly, they can Murktide. But I didn't play around that. Engineered Explosives for 1. Okay, well, if they don't have another land, I can point the Prismatic Ending at this. I'll eat their Fatal Push. They're cracking the Spellbomb. I don't really think my opponent really knows what Ghost Vacuum does. While I think this is an acceptable play anyway, I don't know why they're removing their yard when they play Murktide. Like, they're playing super scared of this Ghost Vacuum, exiling things. Okay, so Cavern of Souls. Man, another game of just really flooding out. I hope they don't have Force of Will. Okay, well, now I guess having all these lands isn't all that bad. My construct will survive, but it'll be a 1/1. They're gonna get to kill 3 things. But I'm not super scared of Wasteland at this point. Alright, I'll exile the engineered explosives in response. The reason why I'm doing that over Force of Will is for card type purposes against a Barrowgoy. I guess we'll just have to see if that pans out in the long game. Brainstorm is probably the best card I could draw. Force of Will, terrible card to draw, but I will play out a 5th land so that I can hard cast that. Hard cast Kaito. Well, I hope you don't have a Daze. I'll get Tropical Island. That worked. Tamiyo. A bit underwhelming at this point, but definitely something I will play out. If Tamiyo survives, which I'm not very optimistic that it will, it'll buff the construct in addition to providing card advantage. So, not bad. Also, if a game 3 does happen, my opponent's clock is pretty low, and I'm not above trying to take advantage of that for a win. Thoughtseize, alright, well, goodbye Swords to Plowshares. That does take their life total a little lower. And I can F6. Wow, my opponent goes to 2 to kill the Tamiyo. Daze. Maybe their last card is Fatal Push. Well, Daze was not a great top deck, but we'll see. With them on 1 life, that feels pretty decent. That means even if they, let's say, get a Murktide or something, they can't attack with it. Brainstorm, well, they can't fetch. If they say, alright, got a game win there. So they didn't find removal or a creature. So this was a really weird game where they were super ready for my graveyard, which didn't come up. And I was super ready for their mana denial, which also didn't really come up. And it ended up being a 1/1 construct that sealed the deal. I don't think I really want to make a change. I expect they're going to come with a lot of the same cards. And I like this strategy. I know Daze a little bit weak. If there were cuts, I would probably cut a Daze. But there's no card I really want in here more than Daze. Alright, this hand is really nice. My opponent is running 63 cards. I didn't notice if that's what they did last time. But I can definitely play a game with this, remove their early threat, hopefully get to cast this Ponder at some point. And 1/2 of my combo. Probably getting Thoughtseized here, though. Alright. I think I'm going to go Island and Ponder. Try to find more lands, more removal. I'll worry about this thing next turn. Plains, Tamiyo, Brainstorm. That's really good. I will draw the Plains, draw a Tamiyo next turn. I probably wouldn't even be afraid of going, say, Prismatic Ending, play Tamiyo into a potential Daze. Another Goyf, okay. And no land or spell pre-combat when this thing is just a 1/2. It makes me think they might just have 1 land. If they have only 1 land, I probably won't play the Tamiyo into Daze because that gets a little punished when they can just make this land drop again as their land drop. And it also makes Daze more likely if there's no lands in their hand. My opponent is also having a significant pause here in the attack phase where there's a very clear play and their time is ticking down, so I don't think their head is totally in the game here. My opponent is complaining about lag, which is really unfortunate. I have seen maybe a little bit of lag in the past few weeks on Magic Online, though it's been pretty good for me recently. That's really unfortunate as their clock is ticking down, but there's nothing I can really do about it, sadly. So I take 1 off the Goyf, and as predicted, they only had the 1 land. I will remove one of these. And for now, I'm gonna keep the Tamiyo. You know what? Since it seemed like they F6 there, I will play the Tamiyo. If they want to push this next turn, that's fine. I can still Nadu next turn uncounterably and with Force of Will because the top card of my library is Brainstorm. Okay, they did have another land. They must have drawn that. And attacking with the Goyf, they could have like an instant to put into the graveyard, but they couldn't play Bowmaster and an instant. So this feels like a safe block. All right, so now that I've untapped with Tamiyo, that's really interesting. I think I'm going to attack. Now, them having Bowmaster does seem quite likely. And if they Bowmaster, the Tamiyo is definitely in trouble. I can't brainstorm in response because they'll just be able to kill the Planeswalker because I won't be able to plus it on my end step. If I play Savannah, I can play Nomads and crack Clue in response to a Bowmaster, while still having Force of Will and Cavern for Nadu the next turn. I could force the Bowmaster. There's a lot of plays. I think I'm going to start with Savannah, tap Savannah for Nomads, and see what happens from this. I can play around days by not cracking the Clue first. Bowmaster. Yeah. I think what I'm supposed to do is just crack the Clue, because they can't kill either of my creatures. And so if they don't have removal for Nomads, I just put the damage here on Tamiyo, so they didn't maybe realize that trick. If they don't have removal backed by a Daze or a Force, then the Nomads will stick. And if next turn I get to Nadu, that's going to feel good. Okay, Wasteland. That doesn't really matter. Thoughtseize. Ooh. I think I have to force the Thoughtseize. I think that the threat of getting Nadu out uncounterably, even if they were to remove the Nomads, is just too good. So, let's see what happens if I do that. Spellbomb, okay. So they've already played their land because they wastelanded me. I can even block here, put 2 damage. No, I can't block there because they can crack this. I can block here. I can put the damage on the Tamiyo, and then this will actually die. So they've taken some rough beats from this fair Nomads, but it's about to become a very unfair Nomads. And I suspect this will seal the deal here. I sure hate Force of Willing a Thoughtseize. But in this situation, it felt correct. And I think I'm about to get rewarded for it. They could just scoop to this. No. Okay, they did scoop. Yeah, I think that's just GG. That's 6 flips at least on this turn. 6 flips on the next turn. They have 2 minutes left anyway, which I think even if I didn't have Nadu would be kind of rough to win. So GG. The lag was unfortunate, but I was glad to win without that being an issue. All right, this hand looks like a keep on the draw. Force of Will is pretty nice. Tamiyo and Brainstorm is nice. Urza Saga and Illusionist is nice. So this has a lot of different things that it's capable of. Island Ponder from the opponent. I'm almost certainly going to go Basic Island and Tamiyo on my turn. Lotus Petal, okay. Lotus Petal plus Basic Island makes me think this is probably going to be Show and Tell. Because it's probably Show and Tell, I think I'm going to go Misty Pass rather than play Tamiyo, because if they are able to cast Show and Tell next turn, I don't want to force that while playing into Daze. Tamiyo, if Tamiyo seems good as a Planeswalker, I can flip it next turn. So that's the plan. Another Ponderer. Shuffle. Okay. And given my assumption of Show and Tell, I'm not going to have to worry about my mana, so I get to Surveil. Nomads seems great. I think I will play out Flooded Strand and play out Nomads, actually. Now if they show and tell, if they put in an Emrakul, for instance, I can just win. I'll still force a show and tell for sure. Brainstorm, okay. Alright, still no play from the opponent. So they have 5 cards in hand. The fact that I'm not dead here means I assume they at least have a Force of Will. But they would have to have 2. I'm going to do Hedge Maze here rather than preserving the fetch for the Brainstorm because I like all my cards. And it's kind of likely. I think I should just probably Cephalid with Force backup next turn. Don't really need another Tamiyo. Narcomoeba, not an ideal draw, but since I have Nomads, I could afford to draw 1 Narcomoeba. Let's try to win the game. Force pitch Narcomoeba. Blusterstorm. So I think here I need to demonstrate some patience and not fire off Brainstorm because they didn't have the combo yet. I might have to emergency Brainstorm on their turn. And if that were to happen, it would stink that I didn't just do it now. But if I can actually Brainstorm next turn, that would be a lot better. So I'm going to try to have some patience. It's still possible they could simply not have it. They could also have show and tell, and I put in Illusionist. If they have sneak attack here, that's the best thing they can have, so I will emergency Brainstorm. Yikes. Well, not looking good. Is your last card something good? Looks like it is. Emrakul. Bummer. Alright, well, that didn't work out. I want all my forces, Fluster, Needle. Those are pretty much the cards I want. I don't want the swords. And I will take out 1 Tamiyo. Tamiyo is not amazing in this matchup. Carpet is interesting, but I don't love it because they have like soul lands and mountains and spirit guides. They can just play around it too easily. On the play for game 2 with an annoying hand, but I'm going to keep it. I don't like Dread Return or Narcomoeba, obviously, but if I draw a Force off of one of these Ponders, I can pitch the Narcomoeba. Maybe I find a Brainstorm to put back the Dread Return, and if I can find a Nadu, then playing out Nomads pretty much shuts off show and tell for them. I'm going to get a Tundra. Sometimes Sneak and Show has a weird hand. I like the Daze, and I like Nadu. Obviously, I don't really like Oracle, but I'll keep. Sometimes Sneak and Show decks play Magus of the Moon, but the hand that I kept I don't think can really afford to play around it, because I need to both ponder and cast Nomads. Okay, Mistrise Valley, a little scary, but a little slow as well. Alright, now, I know the top card is Thassa's Oracle, and I don't want that card. I can cast the Ponder looking for more lands, and if I find a land, I can cast Nomads. So, I think it's worth the risk to ponder here. And importantly, Mistrise Village is not an island, so it's not like they can daze. Island was not really the land I was looking for, because I can't cast Nomads. But I'm going to take it. I'm going to assume that this is quite a slow start from them because they're unlikely next turn to go show and tell unless they have like multiple Lotus Petals, because they're going to want to do it uncounterably. So I'll do this. Having redundant Nadu might be good. We'll see. Next turn will be an interesting decision whether to do Nomads or to do Nadu. It's probably better to spend my mana and play Nadu. Yeah, so they're just passing here. And next turn, if they want a combo, it's still pretty likely they have to do show and tell. I think I'll play the Nomads before playing out this Cavern. They could have Pyroblast. They could see this and not want to counter it. Now I'll play out Cavern, name Wizard. Strangely enough, I'm going to play out this Narcomoeba, Because if they do show and tell and Daze doesn't take care of it, then I'll still get more flips. I think it's still unlikely they try to kill me next turn unless they have like a force or something, because this village, if they want to use it, is really going to take them a while to get online. Even if they have, say, Ancient Tomb next turn, they would have to have another mana source in order to do it. And to sneak attack, they would have to have 2 additional mana sources, and 3 if they actually want to put in a creature. So this slow start is something I expect I'll be able to take advantage of. If they have something like a Braid as well, Nomads can put the damage on Narcomoeba. So, doesn't feel terrible here. As long as they don't put in like Omniscience or something like that. Magus. Uh-oh. Try to daze that. Phew. Alright, well I should win the game now. And I'll just do it right now. Alright, another land. Okay, they just scoop. Cool. Seeing that they had Magus of the Moon, I actually want to change the Memories Journey to either 1 Swords or 1 Carpet, and I think I want the Carpet. Carpet is also a little bit better on the draw, so let's try this. Alright, I'm on the draw with a hand that has the combo and access to basic lands. I wish I had some sort of protection, but I'm not in the habit of mulling stuff like this. Ponder. So I will get to get my basics. There's a chance they show and tell like an Emrakul or something like that, and I just get to win in response. Daze is great. Lay out Shuko. Now I don't even have to daze a Magus. Doom. Alright. I don't think I daze this. I think we just have to hope for the best. Omniscience. That's not good. This is really bad. I'm probably losing this. Daze wouldn't have done anything, but yeah, they win. Good game. I'm on the draw. This hand is also sort of weird with Dread Return in it, but I'm going to keep. I like Daze and I like 2 Nadus for us. This looks like lands. Crop rotation right away. Cloudpost. Okay, interesting. Saga is nice. Flooded Strand, go. If I have to daze something, I probably have to fetch not a Surveil land. It's just too awkward to have so many tapped lands. But if I don't have to daze anything, then I will Surveil. Cavern, not really important. Ponder, okay, I like that. Another Ponder. So I fetch Ponder again. I think that's fine. Mostly looking for Force of Will. Force of Will and Nomads. That's great. The opponent reveals Planar Nexus. So because I fetch Tundra, I have to play Hedge Maze. And thankfully, that also provides a chance to clear the top of my library. I have Nomads, I have Nadu in hand, I just have to Force of Will, whatever it is, that's going to be their big thing. They appear to be casting... Alright, they played around Daze and this spell, which stinks. Yeah, Force of Will, pitch Daze. Maybe I should have pitched Nadu there, but I think next turn it's so unlikely they're going to play into Daze when they have the Nexus as well. Alright, my opponent has a second command, that sucks. At least I have Saga. But I'm going to need them to not have any action. They did scry to the top Soulguide Lantern. That's fine. I'm pretty far away from that being relevant with Dread Return in my hand. And no other combo piece for the Cephalid Breakfast combo. That being said, if I was my opponent, if that was the card I saw, I would still definitely take it. Nomads off the top, please. Third, Nadu. Well, maybe they start pointing some commands at Nadu. Well, they played Boseiju out. Interesting. That would have been a good thing to hit the Saga with. This looks like a command pointed at Nadu, maybe? Okay. Narcomoeba, about as bad a draw as it gets. But at least I have redundant Nadus. We've been through 3 commands already. And they didn't scry, so they have a ton of mana. They could Emrakul. Crop rotation, pretty good. Caracas? I don't know what the 2 cards are in their hand, but if it's spells, they certainly, I would imagine, could cast them. Another Cloudpost. Looks like Emrakul. Well, all the Emrakuls are killing me this league. I want Force of Negation. Tempted by Prismatic Ending. I think I will get that. Consign and Needle. I'm going to assume that Daze is not going to hit many things. Hameo feels a little weak, and I can trim a land. I'll trim Basic Plains. All right, on the play for game 2. Sure, I'll keep this hand. I maybe should have removed the swords from my deck, but it's fine. My opponent mulled to 6. I'm going to fetch a Surveil land off of this. Ancient Tomb Go just reeks of a flute. Archive. Another land, not what I need. So I'm going to play Urza Saga. I'm going to hope that they needle Urza Saga. I'm going to play Pithing Needle right now. And Pithing Needle, I'm just going to name the One Ring preemptively. This buffs my constructs. Also, there's just not going to be a chance to cast this for several turns. Sure, flute. They might name Shuko. If they name Shuko, my hope is that construct beatdowns will kill them while being able to force some relevant play. Force of Negation, that's nice. So now I have double force plus constructs. That feels like a possible winning game plan. Especially if they stumble on mana at all. That's fine. I would force this if it was like a giant one. Or if I could like hard cast Force of Negation. But right now the plan is just to make big constructs, try to kill them with double force backup. Echoing Deeps entering as just a land. So they are definitely stumbling on mana. Arn, well, that's getting forced. Construct number 1. Dread Return. Man, this is just a Dread Return in hand kind of league. But when you play Cephalid Breakfast, that's what happens sometimes. Alright, well, they're definitely hurting for mana just a bit. I guess they're dismembering a construct. Yeah, I'm not going to force that. The damage that did was equal to 1 hit from the construct anyway. If they tap this tomb too many more times, they really are getting low on life. Another command, I think I have to force this. They're at 8. They can only actually tap the tomb 1 time next turn. And actually, if they want to survive 2 hits, they can't tap it at all. Cavern, not a good top deck. Opponent's at 5. I'll play it out. I'll name Wizard. And just hope that this little guy can get there. Okay, got the win. Game 3, I'm back with the same 60 cards that I played last time. This hand kind of is weird, but I'm going to keep it. I have Ponder, I have lands. It's really hard to put a hand like that back. Force of Will, good. Because I drew the Force, I'm just going to start with Hedge Maze. Another land is nice. Next turn I get to Ponder. I can maybe Ponder into a Nomads or Shuko. Urza's Tower was a slow start from the opponent, especially paired with a Forest here. So let's do Ponder before making a land drop. Ending. Saga. That's about as weak as it gets for something that I would keep. I'll play the Saga. And Saga ticking up into what's a pretty weak hand for them. Seems good. They probably do have a flute again. I can ending. So I'll do that. Urza Saga, Sego. Crop rotation. I'm gonna force that. Pitch one of these Nadus. That was likely gonna get planar Nexus, and they just seem like they're really well. Great. Into a card. Well, this was like the maximum punish for forcing crop rotation. They could get liquimetal coating. The One Ring, okay. So I think what I do here is just play Nadu. I won't be able to kill the card next turn because they're presumably going to plus it. They minused it. Candelabra. So they want a lot of mana this turn. They're going to try to just kill me right now. 10 mana. Ugin. Oh. Sure. I guess I have to force the Ugin pitching Cephalid Illusionist. The reason I pitched Cephalid Illusionist there is if I pitch Thassa's Oracle, then it's just a dead card. So I think here I needle the One Ring. I think I'm liable to get this card dead. I'm gonna ending this Candelabra right now. This feels pretty bad here, but maybe I can at least kill what they have going on. Command for 4, sure. This will protect their card forever. This is not looking very good. I'm just going to cast Thassa's Oracle. Brainstorm is okay. Another Ugin. Great. I'm ready to scoop this one up. Brainstorm's not going to get there. I'm on the draw with a hand that is definitely keepable. Brainstorm can put back the Narcomoebas. If they Thoughtseize me, it's going to stink, but I can't put it back. Basic Island Ponder. It's nice. I'm pretty sure this guy plays Control. Force is nice. I can pitch a Narcomoeba. Daze also good, and another Brainstorm. Yep. Cameo. Well, my hope is that I can keep up with this Tameo on value. Cast Brainstorm. Cool. Put the Narcomoebas back. Nadu will also be a really nice play into the Tameo because if they don't flip it, can't attack really without losing it. And if they do flip it, then the Nadu is big enough that it can pressure the Tameo somewhat. My opponent does not want to flip Tameo, which I think is an interesting move. I'll get a Hedge Maze since I have yet another white source in hand. Thassa's Oracle in the bin. Another Daze. I'll go ahead and play out Nadu. Nadu is a little bit of a bait with Cephalid Illusionist in hand, so I think this is overall a nice play. If it eats a Force, that'd be great. Swords. Let's see what I flip. Force of Will. I think these Dazes are liable to not be great, so I will force pitch a Daze. Try to keep Nadu around. If they force back, I'll let them win. Force of Negation, pitching Force of Will. Sure, that's fine. I think what's most likely going to happen is 2 turns from now I'm going to win the game with Force backup. So I'll let them have that. Yes, they can draw some cards here to get back that advantage, or rather that disadvantage. But I think I'll be alright. Finally flipping the Tameo. This means they can get swords back in time for me to combo off. But if they do that, and they minus, then I get to kill the Tameo with a construct. No land from the opponent, so they are Brainstorm locked. Obviously, they can draw through it pretty quickly. Definitely Narcomoeba on bottom. Under Cephalid. Play the Plains. And now that means next turn I can actually double Illusionist with Force backup. If they minus to get a Swords back, I can kill the Tamiyo at least. If they use the swords to protect the Tamiyo, that won't work out super well for them. They could use this brainstorm to set up a terminus. They could put a terminus 2 cards down, draw whatever card they draw next turn, and then crack the clue on my turn. That'd be pretty good. But having Force of Will and Daze feels pretty good. It was not tempting to daze this brainstorm. Mystic Sanctuary, putting back swords, sure. Minusing, oh, what do they get? Brainstorm. Tamiyo. So they have Brainstorm, Swords. So they have Brainstorm and 2 unknown cards, and they can draw into a Swords. This feels pretty good, having double Illusionist. I will have to cast 1 pre-combat, but now with the Tamiyo in play, it's not like I can really kill their Tamiyo. Shuko. Equip Shuko. They at least will have to chump. They could fire off the swords now, which I think would be a pretty big mistake, but let's see. Firing off the swords. Let's double check. No Narcomoebas in exile or in the graveyard, and they're all in the deck, so I can definitely let this resolve. And let's see if I can immediately punish it. Alright, my opponent concedes. I get my first game 1 win of the league, which is nice. So this seems like a good match for Carpet. I like Needle anytime Tamiyo's around. I definitely want my own Tamiyo and answers to theirs. And I like Flusterstorm. I'll take out the Dazes and probably the Forces. This deck is liable to have Teferi, so getting rid of potential dead draws is always nice. And I like this deck that I'm presenting. This is sort of a maximum threatening deck. I'm on the draw with a hand that's so close. I think it's a mulligan, though, because if I don't get that 3rd land, the Saga isn't very good. I don't have blue mana to cast the cantrips to find the 3rd land. I think it's worth mulling. This hand also doesn't have blue mana. I think it's fine as a 6. I'll bottom the Brainstorm. I have an answer to a Tamiyo. I have the combo. Any 3rd land gets me there. It's okay. Flames Go is a pretty rough start from the opponent. I'll go ahead and play out the Shuko. Drawing Illusionist means I could win in the event that they didn't have a swords or anything. Seems pretty unlikely. Meticulous Archive. That seems better than just casting Illusionist. Saga. Good. Alright, well the mana is coming together. Next turn will be interesting. I don't know next turn whether I should... Wow. Double planes from the opponent and nothing else. I think it's worth it to Cavern and Nadu here. I'll get at least 2 cards off of it, and I'll get a card out of them. Saga can start going next turn. They kept a really weak hand. Here's Nadu. It's undoubtedly going to get Cloud. Yes. Fine. Yeah. Oh my god, it is a Dread Return drawing kind of league. At least with Carpet in the deck, though, Dread Return is never totally dead in hand. Narcomoeba drawn right after that. I'll cast Ponder. Bunch of lands, no. Play out Saga. Alright, my opponent has blue mana now. Let's see what they can do. Is this like a back to basics? Sure. Yeah, that's fine. That's about as good a draw as they could have had. Is it worth it to tap down all of these lands to Nadu right now? I really wish I could win with Illusionist right now, but I can't because I've drawn terribly. I think it's worth it to Nadu. I can maybe... Ending... Nomads. Well, I have no lands. I have no forces in my deck. At least I can drop the Dread Return into the graveyard. Any removal basically kills me here, and I'm sure they have it because keeping the double planes was a telltale sign that they probably had some swords. I know we've been through one. My opponent is not killing Nadu, it seems. Okay. Yeah, it's looking bad. Carpet would be great if I had any sort of mana. I'll just needle to fairy Time Raveler. And I'll pass the turn with 9 cards in hand. That sucks. Discard Narcomoeba and a Swords. Narset, sure. They reveal another Narset. Hedge Maze. I'll see if there's a land off the Hedge Maze that I can draw. No, I'm just ready to pack this one up. All right, so now seeing some of the stuff that they can threaten, I think what I want to do is take the carpets back out, put in 2 Force of Wills. I will definitely go for basic lands to avoid getting destroyed by back to basics, but I don't know, we'll see how this goes. I think I'll make one more switch actually. I'll take the Memories Journey out and put in 1 carpet. Alright, this hand looks pretty good. I'll keep. My opponent mulled to 6. I like the double Tamiyo. It's very likely one of them will stick. Here we go. My opponent kills it right away. Seems fine. Play the Savannah. Play Tamiyo. I wish I had the ability to brainstorm, but it'll be fine. They have to have yet another removal spell, which is not the most unlikely thing in the world. I don't think I can force to protect Tamiyo. Meddling Mage. Wonder if they'll name Brainstorm. If they do, that's fine. I can pitch that to Force of Will and just draw cards with the Tamiyo. They might name Nadu. Yeah, that's fine. Because they're a Tamiyo deck, I've kept my removal in. Dread Return. I have drawn Dread Return so many times in this league. It's a little ridiculous. I'll cast the Brainstorm. Hopefully I find a land. Of course I don't. Yikes. Alright. I'll put back Dread Return and Tamiyo. This will flip. I'll play out Nomads. Next turn I can Illusionist, and I can actually afford to Force a Well this turn and then pick that Force back up with Tamiyo. So that feels pretty good. If they're able to resolve a back to basics, that would be pretty rough. Alright, Tamiyo goes down to 3, which is certainly relevant, but 3 is still enough to minus it. And that's really the goal next turn. I want to be able to win with double Force. Page. Well, here's Force. Brainstorm in response. That feels good. Of course, any sort of removal spell would be bad. I think I have to play Illusionist next turn, with the goal being at least to try to get the Dread Return off the top of my deck. I think it's very likely, though, they're going to find some sort of answer in this Brainstorm. Honestly, the best case scenario might be them just forcing back on the Grafdigger's Cage. Then I can actually plus the Tamiyo next turn. Though maybe it would make more sense to minus it and get Brainstorm back. Alright, my opponent has gone to 1 card to force this. That's fine. Tamiyo, I know the top card is Dread Return. I think I will cast the Illusionist. And mill 1 time, get that Dread Return off the top. Let's see, is there anything I could get by milling off this Tamiyo? I don't think so. I think Force would be the best thing. So I'm just going to plus. No attacks means that the Meddling Mage can't really attack. I could trade the Illusionist for the Mage, which I would certainly do with a Cage in play. Narset, that's good. To Fairy Fount. Well, this means I should be able to win the game here. So what I do is I start milling. Oh my god, that's Oracle drawn immediately. Ah. So what I was going to say is I could mill my deck until I get a prismatic ending. Then I prismatic ending the Cage. That's such a bummer that I drew the Oracle right then. Really frustrating. Alright, I've thought about this for a little while, and I think what I'm supposed to do is Still mill cards, hoping to find Prismatic Ending. Ending the Cage, and try to get a Nadu in play off of Dread Return. Then with Nadu and Nomads, I can start to draw my deck and maybe hard cast this Oracle, or at least get enough cards to counteract what they have going on. This only gets punished if both Narcomoebas are milled before I hit a Prismatic Ending. But they're about to turn the corner, so I want to do what I can to prevent that. All right, I hit a Prismatic Ending, so now I minus, get Prismatic Ending. Ending the Cage. They might even just scoop to this. Going. All right, they actually did just scoop. Now, with Oracle in hand, I can't win right now, right? So it was wrong of them to scoop. It's almost always wrong to scoop with people trying to win off of breakfast, but I'll take it. I do think it was going to feel likely, just seeing what the next mill would be. You can see it's a long time even before I have to get to a Nadu. I don't want to mill just forever, but you can see that I milled all these cards with no hits, so it's likely I could have decked myself with this strategy. But as soon as I hit Nadu and Narcomoebas, it was going to feel pretty good. I just had to hit one Narcomoeba because I could play out that Tamiyo. So I definitely liked my position there. GG's. I'm on the play in the final match versus likely sneak and show opponent. Yeah, this hand is fine. I will keep. Because I have the read that this is going to be sneak and show, I'm going to go Plains Nomads turn 1. Even though that takes me off a daze, they'll have to force the Nomads if they want to keep that off the table. And that feels like a pretty valuable play. Actually, I'm talking myself into starting with Archive, because then next turn I can Nomads and possibly have Daze backup if they like cast a Ponder or something like that. So I'll do that. Another land is good. Okay, well, Daze is unlikely going to be able to protect this Nomads, but that's okay. Play him out. All right, the Nomad sticks, so that's good. That basically shuts off Show and Tell as a game-winning play, provided that they do not have Omniscience. If they have Omniscience, then I'm out of luck. Brainstorm end step to me means they want to play around Daze as they combo off here. Ponder, okay. My opponent shuffles. I'll Surveil, end of turn. Cavern would be the best draw. Shuko, nope. Daze, another Daze. So, I could cast Illusionist. With Memory's Journey in my deck, I could try to go off. If they have to force that, then maybe next turn Nadu sticks. Double Daze is more likely going to be effective for what they're trying to do. Let's just see what happens if I do Illusionist. Alright, that resolved. Do I go for it? I think that I do, given that I have Memory's Journey. Alright, here we are with an empty library. Dread Return was the very last card that I milled. I definitely have to sack Cephalid Illusionist so they can't mill me. But let's see. Alright, Thassa is in there. And I got there. Okay, so I bet they had combo pieces kind of ready to go off pretty soon. Maybe trying to play around a Daze, which would have been pretty wise. But I didn't expect that to work as easy as it did. Against Show and Tell, I'm going to do the same plan I did earlier, which is to bring in Force of Negation and Flusterstorm and Pithing Needle. Take out the swords. Take out one Tamiyo. I'll probably have to fetch basics if they have Magus, but I think that given the power level of my opponent's deck, you always have to be willing to concede something. And Magus of the Moon is the line for them that I'm willing to allow on some level. Well, if you told me I would have Dread Return in the opening hand again, I would certainly believe you, because it's just been that kind of match. My opponent is mulling. I'm going to keep, though, because I have Force Blue card, Ponder. If I get to cast it, will hopefully find me some good action. And maybe I can get rid of this Dread Return eventually. My opponent kept 6. Cavern is good. I think I'm going to not cast Ponder. This allows me to play around days if I have to use Force of Negation, and I still have the option to surveil things in order to find cards I want. Next turn, though, if I make it with all the cards in my hand, I will cast Ponder. Brainstorm, sure. Now there's a question about whether to surveil here or not, and I think that I will not. I'll try to play around Magus by getting basic lands. And with Ponder, I'm already going to get to look for stuff. Nomads is nice, okay. I'll play the Flooded Strand first. I can't have the Ponder get dazed, and then I don't have a blue card for Force of Negation. I think they would not daze, but I just can't. Can't allow that. Shuko on bottom. I won't want that card. Illusionist, Ponder. Now, I was not thinking about Dread Return being in my hand. I just made a mistake. I should have put Illusionist in my hand and used that as a pitch card. But I was just being absent-minded. And one of the things, if you're pretty new to Cephalid Breakfast, one of the things that you must master early on is the Pentad Prism, sure. One of the things that you have to master early on is the deck construction configurations at all times. And you have to have awareness of what you have access to or what you don't, based on the cards in your hand, the cards in your library. And since I didn't have access to killing my opponent with Nomads and Cephalid this turn, I should have chosen to pitch the Illusionist if necessary. It didn't come up because they just cast this card, but clearly a mistake nevertheless. Okay, I'm going to cast, or I'm going to get a Surveil land here, actually. I'm going to get Edge Maze. I don't need another land. I'll cast Ponder. Thassa's Oracle, Brainstorm. Okay, so those are cards I definitely want. Thassa's on bottom, followed by Illusionist, followed by Brainstorm. I'll play Flooded Strand. That'll give me maximum options here. And I will pitch the Illusionist to Force of Negation. The next turn I can Brainstorm back to Dread Return and try to combo. Let's just see how this next turn goes. I'm sure they're going to try to kill me next turn. Hopefully I won't have to fire off the Brainstorm as an emergency, because that would shuffle away the other Illusionist. Okay, well my opponent is pretty flooded. We'll play Saga. And I'll just pass the turn. Maybe Brainstorm on end step. If they're not killing me, they definitely have a lot of interaction, so I'm willing to slow down. I don't think they would have Workish Bowmasters. Let's see. So definitely put back Dread Return. I think put back Tundra. I'll keep the Oracle in hand. And I will get Meticulous Archive. Another Force of Negation. Not what I want. Drop. Okay, so I can start making constructs, or I can combo off into 5 open mana plus these charge counters. A lot of open mana. Clearly no proactive game plan. I like the Saga line better. I'll even hold the Brainstorm. I'll just go land go. Passing again. Tomb. Well, if that's what they drew, that was a pretty bad top deck. They are super flooded. Traxa, hard cast. Wow. I guess I have to Brainstorm. Well, you have an Atraxa opponent. So, I definitely want to try to win next turn. I will have a Shuko. So, it's going to take more mana to hard cast the Oracle. I'll put back... I will redraw the Oracle. I think that's the plan. I'll shuffle away the Narcomoeba, redraw Oracle. I can't win next turn, but maybe between Nomads and whatever I draw, that could be good. Pyroclasm pretty good. Fury. Let's see what they take. Next turn, I'll have 6 mana. So I actually can go Illusionist, Oracle. None of the cards except Force of Will that they are drawing here are cards that they can win with right away, or that can stop me from winning next turn. So they chose Volcanic, Sneak Attack, Stock Up, Force, and Fury. Alright, so my opponent has 3 unknown cards in their hand. If any one of those cards is Force of Will, I'm going to be a bit out of luck. But I think what I do is I cast Illusionist Uncounterable. So first cast Illusionist, they'll probably force. Then cast Uncounterable Illusionist, holding up mana to hardcast Oracle. If they force the Oracle, I dread return. And hopefully that's enough. So I'll get Shuko. My opponent is fetching in response. I would be absolutely insane to Needle Scalding Tarn, but I suppose it's easy enough to play around it. Get Shuko. I'll equip Shuko. Maybe they do something in response. Cast Cephalid Illusionist. It's noteworthy that they got 2 basic islands and did not get red for a Pyroblast. I can't play around anything at this point, but it's just nice to know they're not holding that up. Force of Will, Pitch, Stock Up. So now there's still 3 unknown cards. Cavern of Souls, Cephalid Illusionist, Uncounterable. I will mill my deck. Here's Narcomoeba. That enters, so that means that I will be able to cast this Oracle and cast Dread Return. And obviously I can't really pass the turn because they have the Fury. However, depending on how these mills goes, I may not have to completely empty my deck, but I think I took out Memory's Journey. Let's quickly check the sideboard. No, Memory's Journey is in the deck. So let's keep going. So there's actually a lot of hurdles they have to clear here for me to not beat them. Cast Thassa's Oracle from hand. They could Daze. Yeah. Cast Dread Return targeting Thassa's Oracle. Sacrificing these cards. Flusterstorm, okay. So, they have 1 unknown card. Sneak Attack, Fury, a land, and then an unknown card. I can force a negation the Sneak Attack to prevent them from losing the game, or to prevent me from losing the game. Because a Fury snuck in would get really close, or obviously if they have like another monster, I should probably just not let Sneak Attack resolve. Though it's also tempting to save Force and Negation as backup for Memory's Journey. The awkward thing about that, though, is that I can't cast Memory's Journey and Force and Negation and Thassa's Oracle. So I would have to put multiple cards underneath. So it's just force whatever they do this turn, try to get Memory's Journey resolved, and win next turn. Okay, they just go to combat. I go to 10, and they pass. 2 cards unknown. Okay, so do I play around them having something else? The way that I do that is by casting Memory's Journey and getting more than 1 card back. If they have something else, that means I don't win this turn, but I'm still not dead to their play next turn. Except I am, because they can Fury. If they Fury, they can go kill my construct. If I play Nomads, I could chump the Fury. If they have nothing, there's a 50-50 chance. Actually, if there's nothing, I can just win because of the Ponder. I guess I will play around something. I'll go Memory's Journey, targeting myself. Target Thassa's Oracle. Force of Will. They're hard casting a Force of Will. So now I have to cast Force of Negation. Works. I drew the Force. That's good. So their hand is now Sneak Attack, Fury, and an unknown card. I'll play out the Nomads. This means that if they're able to sneak attack in the Fury, I can stay alive by chumping with Nomads. They can only kill one of these because the Nomads can put the damage on the other creature. This looks like sneak attack, and I think I'm supposed to force that. Pitching Nadu, because if they do have another monster and I die, I would be out of luck. Now it would take something like Consigned to Memory, which is far more specific, to be in their hand for me to lose. I'm getting a turn, and if they don't have Consign or Stifle or something like that, then they're about to die. Let's see how this goes. All right, I got there. All right, well, this league was just a 3-2, which is not really very attractive, but, you know, a 3-2 is always acceptable. I think this was a really good showing for Memory's Journey, that last match especially, where the combo was so resilient that eventually I was able to get there. Memory's Journey is a card that I'm always going back and forth between, but it really proved its worth in this league. Looking back at my deck, I did really like this list overall. The carpets were not very good, and there were multiple blue decks that I played against where if carpet is going to be good, it really should have shown its worth. So I likely will cut it and go back to something like 3 Force of Negations, another Prismatic Ending. Just simplify the list a little bit with good cards, maybe the 4th Swords to Plowshares. I think those would all be good. I still have yet to play carpet against Dimir Reanimator, which is what I really wanted to test it for. But it's just showing that it's not truly exceptional in a lot of matchups right now. And I think it's fine to cut it for better cards. I do think I was playing a better deck a couple weeks ago than this really feels. And carpet is the #1 card I'm looking at as perhaps not as well positioned as I'd like it to be. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.